Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup, a 158 for Korea. And guess what? There's a Terran player. Over the last couple of months, at least, well, over like the last month and a half or so, I feel like every single finals of this weekly tournament has been Hero versus Dark. But turns out we have two different players today. So first off, in the top left-hand corner of a map called Vanan, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have Ragnarok. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing here with the blue SCVs, he goes by the name of GuMiho. Alrighty, so game number one, we find ourselves on a map called Vanan. All of the games today, they're played of course with the new balance changes, but also on the new tournament maps. This map, when I first had a look at it, I thought it was going to be pretty Zerg favored actually. I mean, the distance between all of the different bases and all of the expansions, it just feels huge. And in general, at least in my experience, Terrans and Protoss in general just have a little bit of a harder time trying to secure those expansions, with Zerg obviously having the advantage of being able to spread creep. That said, in the games that I've actually seen on this map so far, it doesn't really seem that bad at all. I may even be calling this one, I mean, obviously my sample size is only like 10 games or so, but I may even be calling this one slightly Terran favored right now. I'm not sure. Let me actually look at the stats real quick. Yeah. So, it's a sample size of only 16 games played at the professional tournament level. But Terrans apparently so far on this particular map are 10-6. So 10 wins for Terran, 6 wins for Zerg. Which is kind of interesting. I'll actually try and pull up the stats for every single one of the maps today, unless I forget. But I think it might be interesting to hear where we are at so far. Obviously, historically in StarCraft 2, sometimes when maps first release, they are heavily in favor of one race. And then suddenly, as time goes by, we see that switching as the opposing races just needed a little bit more time to figure out how to play a map. This is definitely a bit of an interesting one, though. Anyways, we've got ourselves a bunch of Zerglings already running across the map. GuMiho decided to skip the SCV scout, so he hasn't seen anything. This Reaper is going to be the very first unit that he sends across. Problem is, the Zerglings are already available. One Ling is going to be split off from the pack to try and go after... Ooh, he gets into the main base as well. Try to go after that one SCV. Marine here is going to get surrounded as well, and this is going to get quite painful. Reaper has to now all the... It's going to take forever before that one comes back home. We have the Zerglings, though, just running around. Yeah, a couple of those SCVs, killing a few of them as well, but obviously this is a massive income advantage right now for the Zerg player. He does have to pay the price of going for that early game spawning pool, but those SCVs not mining for what seems to be forever is massive, and on top of that, that SCV being delayed on the low ground also kind of sucks. GuMiho at this point also has to be a little bit careful that he doesn't hit a supply block, because, well, I mean, he decides to go for a reactor, right? Or a tech lab even right now. Okay, interesting. Anyways, yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of supply available, but I believe that this command center is going to finish up in time, and it's obviously going to provide him with the supply that he needs to continuously build up his Terran army. All right, so if you look at the income advantage right now, yeah, so this is... It's only a couple of minutes in, right? But this is already quite significant right now for Ragnarok. One problem for Rag is that it can be difficult to secure a third hatchery off of an opener like this, but he already managed to pull that off as well, since the Reaper had to go all the way back across, and this map really does feel quite big. A rush distance is 37 seconds. Yeah, so that really is quite significant. We've had a lot of maps in the past that are like 33, 34 seconds. Okay. So all of that obviously adds up quite a bit, and I would like to say that Ragnarok is in a fantastic position at this point in the game. Obviously, the timings are going to be a little bit different, so going for the lair and, you know, when you specifically want to be putting down your Evo chambers and your Baneling nest, all of that is going to be a bit different now because, well, you have to judge the amount of damage that you've done, and you can try and adjust. But Ragnarok, obviously, one of the very best Zerg players from Korea. He's going to be more than capable when it comes to determining those timings. Okay. A lot of Zerg players seem to be fond of expanding vertically here. But he decides to go for the triangle base. This expansion over here is bait. We've seen this base go up a couple of times so far, and this expansion over here, I feel like you almost need to almost ignore it until your creep is all the way out there. It might seem tempting to take this, Who was it again? Was that Cure? I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, in a couple of games, there have been siege tanks right here on the low ground that with, you know, some elevator play with maybe a couple of medevacs on the high ground or even a scan, you can take care of this mineral line very easily, whereas this one over here is significantly easier to defend. And I would even say that probably this one is also easier to defend than this one right here on the high ground. Anyways, these games were played a couple of days ago. I'm sure that Ragnarok has a bit of experience on this map right now. He might disagree, however, so we'll see where he decides to take the fourth. Maybe he's going to be taking it up here. I actually don't think that the 12 o'clock position is a bad idea at all. GuMiho, though, playing this a little bit differently. So, GuMiho is the only Terran player at this level that is comfortable playing, well, Terran Mech. So, yeah, he's decided to go for additional factories right now. We've got ourselves the Banshee Cloaking Field finishing up. Is he going to go for the Speedy upgrade as well? I would love to see it. They did make that upgrade cheaper. Nope, we're still not making it. They just basically buffed the Banshee speed improvement quite a bit, but apparently, even after those improvements, it is still not, not worth GuMiho's resources. GuMiho is going across the map, however, with Zerglings, Roaches, and Ravagers. Sadly for him, he is doing this into a Terran base that already has a couple of Banshees up in the air. So, yeah, he's maybe going to lose a couple of supply depots here, maybe a couple of workers. Might actually end up losing quite a bit. It depends on the biles and where they connect, but this is a pretty good situation right now, I believe, here for the Terran player. Although I say that, he needs to be careful he doesn't lose that much. I would love to see this orbital command being morphed in. Maybe send it back to the main base and get the orbital going. The thing is, I've done this push many times as a Zerg player. Don't lose the CZ. I've done this push many times as a Zerg player, and when you don't deal, like, 30 SCVs worth of damage, you usually find yourself in a pretty tricky spot. This is a continuation of that early game, right? So he wants to try and, deal lethal amounts of damage. At this point, once again, the income is looking pretty dang good here for Ragnarok, but, it's also pretty expensive to go for a build like that. So let's see how good the counterattack here is going to be. He does have a very nice economy on the back of this, though. So this is, still a full 3-base saturation right here for the Zerg. Anyhow, Banshees are going in right now. There are Spore Crawlers available. Queens also in the right place. They do manage to sneak away, although the Overseer is awfully close. This is a slow build, though, from GuMi. So GuMiho is not really planning on being aggressive here. Ooh, maybe I'm wrong. Ooh, he's actually going for the Cyclone situation and now going for the Mech Field Accelerator as well. I haven't seen a single mech game with the new balance changes just yet. Battle Mech, that is. So that seems to be what GuMiho is going for here. So, broadly speaking, there are two types of Terran Mech. The first one is the very slow and methodical one that we see all the time, right? I mean, all the time, as in, like, whenever GuMiho feels like playing it, but we see that one quite frequently, where it's mostly just a bunch of siege tanks and Hellions and Hellbats, and then, you know, Thors, and eventually maybe even some I don't know, Liberators, Battle Cruisers, that sort of thing, that really slow, methodical army. And we also have the Cyclone Hellion version, which seems to be the one that GuMi is going for, but he is mixing in a couple of Thors right now, so he's going for a little bit of both. Double Medevac also coming up. He must have seen his opponent's Spire, or at the very least he must realize that that is a very good option right now from the Zerg. And if that's the case, having no anti-air available makes things a little bit tricky. So the Cyclone upgrade, it has changed. The Cyclone upgrade right now benefits Terrans a little bit more globally against every unit. Plus the lock-on priority is also changed, so they're not going to lock on against flying units that only have an air-to-ground... Yeah, I think that's the only thing they lock onto right now. If it's a flying unit that has air-to-air, they don't actually lock on. So Locust in particular are no longer going to be wasting that very, very precious cooldown on the Cyclone. Anyways, Muta's going in right now. Thors are available. They're going to pop into the Medevac. There you go. Getting a nice volley. Not bad at all. He's going to be pushed back. Maybe I underestimated the amount of damage, though, that Ragnarok dealt. Yeah, income-wise, it's good right here for the Zerg player, for sure. The problem here for this Zerg army, and why I am not necessarily too fond of Ragnarok's position here, even though he's got a little bit of everything, is that he's stuck on, like, Roach Ravager, Zergling, Muta, and that's one of those unit comps that, as time goes by, is gonna lose value. So it's easy to get stuck on these low-tier units. So he's making additional Ravagers right now. He's going into Baneling Speed as well. It's very easy to get stuck on those low-tier units. And it's difficult to, like, win the game with those armies. Like, one option you have, of course, is to just send wave after wave after wave of, well, Zergling, Baneling at the opponent's walls. And when you have, like, 100+ drones worth of economy coming in, you can oftentimes make that work, but it's tricky. GuMi is very, very good at when it comes to, like, positioning his siege tanks, and those supply depots may seem random, but they're positioned very carefully to try and optimize the amount of work that he can get done with the units that he has. Anyways, Baneling Speed about halfway done. I wouldn't be too surprised if Ragnarok is going to try his hand as soon as those upgrades are finishing. He does decide to go for Vipers, so that is certainly a beautiful addition right here to the Zerg army. I wonder if Terran Mech is the right way on a map like this, though. Maybe this is something that GuMiho is feeling almost like forced into. Because, yeah, he can try and take the base over here, but the bases are still very spread out. And these Terran Mech armies are pretty slow. I'm surprised that he mixed in 2 Cyclones. Oh god, he's gonna lose all of those, isn't he? Yeah, that's very painful. Beautiful Corrosive Vials as well. Excellent moves right there from the Zerg. He tries to get the Banshees. Ooh, close. Yeah, that was painful. But I'm a little surprised he decided to go for a handful of Cyclones, get the Cyclone upgrade, and then go straight into Thors and Siege Tanks regardless. So I thought we were gonna see some Battle Mech here. We now also have the Infernal Pre-Igniter coming up, as well as the Smart Servos. So those are upgrades we don't really see all too often. This allows some of those Terran units to transform between their different modes a little bit quicker. This allows, of course, the Hellions to spew those blue flames instead, which will do a lot more damage, in particular to light units. So Zerglings are gonna get roasted a little bit quicker. Anyhow. Yeah, it's important here for Ragnarok to not stick around on that low-tech army for all too long. So we already saw a couple of Vipers. Now we have the Greater Spire coming up as well. And the Greater Spire is going to be fantastic when it comes to, well, allowing him to produce Brute Lords. Brute Lords are a bit of a funny unit, especially when the opponent already has a bunch of Thors out. But maybe we need to hold that thought, because it seems to me that Ragnarok is making himself up for an attack right now. Yeah, he's coming in from multiple angles. Siege tanks are spread out, but primarily north of this position. SCVs are going to try and run away. Blinding Clouds here will disable a couple of those units. Good spreads right there by the Terran units, however, and they're going to blow up 8 SCVs so far. Good targeting as well. 10 SCVs, those benches up in the air. And this is kind of that attack that I was concerned for. This is super expensive here for the Zerg player. Yeah, not worth it at all. Not worth it at all. Is he going to be able to keep that siege tank alive? He will. Okay, so big picture. Bunch of siege tanks have gone down. A bunch of SCVs went down there as well, but that was significantly more expensive. Do I have the battle report? I do have the battle report. Okay. So yeah, you can see right here how much this cost. Apparently a little bit of friendly fire as well, not really helping out GuMi there all too much, but I don't think that that trait was that amazing right there for the Zerg player at all. You really want to have a decisive advantage in those sorts of fights. Anyhow, GuMi's economy is still not great. He does have another command center here. Ultra Cavern also coming up, okay. So Brute Lords are, by the way, a little bit faster. Liberators are a little bit cheaper. Ultralisks are a little bit smaller. All of those changes do definitely change the dynamic of the late game here quite a bit. But if GuMiho can keep taking traits like the one he just took, life is going to be hopefully a little bit better here. That said, Ragnarok is already ready for another massive attack wave. I think this is the last one with Roaches and Ravagers. You'll probably be replacing those momentarily. Anyways, Blinding Clouds once again available. Eventually, those Banshees from the early game are going to end up going down. Thors are happy to soak up as many of those Banes as possible. Is there enough for the Zerg player to break through? That siege tank over there, 25 confirmed kills already. I think that's probably going to be the end of that one, however. Additional reinforcing units do pop out of the factories. It takes a while for them to produce. SCVs here trying desperately to keep that orbital command alive. Okay. GuMiho is still alive. He's not healthy, but he's alive and kicking. And, you know, considering he had like a bunch of siege tanks not even really helping out in that fight, that once again went surprisingly well. But yeah, the era of the Roach is over. We're now going to go into Ultralisks. So the Ultralisk got a size reduction. which, yeah, is definitely a significant improvement for the unit. In the past, they would get stuck on one another all the time. They would get stuck on Zerglings, Banelings, everything. Right now, though, the Ultras should be much easier to control. And this is going to be a nice test as well to see if we are actually on the new balance patch. We should be. They should be much smaller. Yes, they are much smaller. Sorry, I had to think right there for just a second. They're about the same size as a Ravager now, which you get used to pretty quickly. But they remind me a little bit of StarCraft Brood War Ultras right now. They only, however, have, well, their base armor plus chitinous plating, because only just now is when the Evo Chamber upgrades for the Carapace start up. So those Ultras are not nearly as tanky as we've come to expect. Here we go once again. Wave number 3, Ragnarok, ready to throw more units into this Terran wall. Does he have enough to break through this? Vikings do land on the ground. That smart servo is helping out quite a bit. They're going to try and gun down whatever they can. Thor still dealing so much damage, however. Vikings decide to turn around once again. And I think that this force is also gonna get deflected. Okay. Ragnarok still has a ton of money in the bank. I really would have liked to see him... Ooh, he gets the CC, okay. I really would have liked to see him do something like this off of like 100 workers. Don't get me wrong, like 87 drones is a good amount, and he has been outmining his opponent for a long time. But none of these traits are resource efficient for him. And I feel like he needs to get more income than he has been getting so far if he wants to play this style where you throw away loads and loads of units continuously. I might be wrong in that department though, but at least personally, whenever I'm in this situation where I'm like, okay, my strategy is to roll stuff at the opponent and hope that eventually all of the bowling pins will go down, I will go like 100 workers. Like literally 100 drones. You can obviously make static defense out of them later on as well, but... Now it's looking a little bit desperate though, because, sure, he's once again at near maxed out supply. But now his bank has been depleted. GuMiho's strategy here is to sit back, right? His strategy is to sit back until he's fully maxed. He just finished up his 3-3 upgrades here for the Terran Mech. That's nice. Wouldn't mind seeing a couple of air upgrades coming up as well. He did make quite a few Vikings and Liberators already, and obviously if you have those air weapons, you can always transition towards battlecruisers too, which I do love to see, even though we don't see it nearly as often as I would like to. Anyhow, it's definitely a good option here. Wave number 4 or 5? I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. Counting is hard. I need to keep my fingers, okay? My fingers are on the keyboard. I can't count without my fingers, apparently. He is coming in once again, this time around from a different angle. Command Center gets cancelled there, Siege Tank does go down, but you can see these traits are not looking nearly as good anymore right now. Yeah, and this is actually a moment where GuMiho may very well be considering moving across the map. So one addition we see all the time with these sorts of builds is ghosts. I've seen GuMiho be a little bit reluctant when it comes to making ghosts. I'm not sure exactly as to why that is, but... It's one of those units that definitely has a ton of power. I mean, it did get nerfed a little bit with this new balance patch, but still a good choice to have some EMPs available to shut down those Zerg spellcasters. Ragnarok, not really the Infestor Viper kind of guy, necessarily. Here's the Blue Flame Hellbats, though. Oh, ready to roast some Zerglings. It's not going to take them long to get rid of all of those units. Roaches are once again added into the mix, which I wonder, is that the right call? Because the siege tank count fully upgraded is pretty scary, man. Yeah, so I think the original plan for Zerg was to go Vipers and Brute Lords. And that's still an option, but when you're making Brute Lords into someone who's already got this many Thors and Vikings out, it's tricky, right? Because it's going to take like 3 production cycles until GuMiho is like, I don't know, 12 Thors. And then suddenly your Brute Lord army is not going to be nearly as effective. Mules are now mining out a base very quickly up north as well. Can we have a quick look at the income? Okay, for the very first time, well, in almost 5 minutes anyways, it seems to me that Terran is going to be able to catch up temporarily in that income department. Good abductions right over there. Getting rid of a couple of those heavy hitters from the Zerg, but yeah, Vipers did get a nerf as well. They now hang in place for about a second. I think it's 0.7 seconds when they have, well, utilized an abduction. And those abductions are suddenly not as powerful as they used to be. So right now when you abduct something, the Viper just hangs there for a moment, which is a very reasonable nerf, not gonna lie, but it certainly did cost him there, because I think otherwise those, well, maybe 1 or 2 of the Vipers would have escaped, and right now, maybe abducting is not as valuable as it once used to be. Zerg trying to overwhelm this, though. Trying to come in from multiple angles. Terran is spread very thinly in many different areas. The Thor count is still high. You can see that those units also do tank a ton of damage. Siege tanks in the back still getting a lot of value as well. Ragnarok panicking, making 9 Overlords. That is not what we need at this point in the game, Rak. You're already maxed out. You're not going to go over 200. That is definitely some frustration coming in. Now force to cancel a ton of Ravagers here as well. He's going back down to that low unit composition, which I don't think I agree with. I think it's probably better to try and slowly build up that, like, Brute Lord count. Ideally, though, you're going to need, like, 30 plus. And that's going to take a ton of resources, which he doesn't really have anymore at this point. GuMiho not maxed out, but he's still ready to continuously attack here, it seems. Coming in from the north, I mean, that move over here is relatively small. As the game progresses, these players are becoming next-door neighbors, it seems. One of the siege tanks does get picked off. It's going to be difficult to get a surround going here, and I wonder if it's better to just give up on this position altogether. One of the siege tanks, okay, well, at least in a little bit of trouble, but it's going to stay alive because all of the Roaches and Ravagers just got blown up. I think that's those additional Overlords that we saw in the production tab a moment ago. We're now at 28 of them. Yeah, that's definitely a little too much. Zerg counterattack going in. Okay. Sick game, actually, to start off this finals. Neural Parasite coming up as well here for Ragnarok, so that's another option. Going underground and trying to get rid of a couple of those Thors by making them switch sides, definitely not a bad idea. Yeah, I think the Ultra transition without Carapace upgrades in the Evo chamber was a questionable one. I mean, they are more powerful now, but I'm not sure. I don't think that was the right call. Siege tank over here, gonna gun down that drone, prevent that expansion over here as well. Income still in favor of the Zerg, however. Those extra Overlords coming in handy now. Getting a lot of value out of those Vikings, actually. I'm surprised he doesn't add on... I've been saying this for a long time, right? But I'm surprised he doesn't add on any Ghosts, but also no Ravens. So Ravens have been reworked. But like an anti-armor missile here on the Zerg army would be quite amazing, right? Then again, I heard one of the arguments of Zerg players in the past where like, yeah, but what if the Raven gets knurled? And then, you know, my army, like this army over here, is gonna get anti-armor missiled? That would be the end of things as well. So maybe going for the Ravens is a little bit of a gamble. But Ghosts definitely are a good addition here. Or maybe he doesn't need it against the abduction nerf. Anyhow, Blinding Clouds, very nice. Shutting down a couple of those units, but losing the Vipers in the process as well. 6 SCVs go down. Terran army, ooh, rather than going up north to try and defend those bases, he's gonna send it across. That's gonna cost him a lot of SCVs. That means that GuMiho believes he's got an army strong enough that his opponent can't really deal with it anymore. But that is a very risky move. He's gonna end up losing a ton of stuff at home. Yeah, all of these expansions are ripe for the taking here. The siege tank spread is still phenomenal, though, getting so much damage out of those. Good corrosive bowels as well by Ragnarok, but Ragnarok in the meantime is losing a lot of stuff here at home. Expansion up north, also gonna get denied. Those Vikings landed on the ground. Okay, command center is gonna live for a little while longer. Siege tanks in the main base right now. Okay, those Ravagers are gonna be forced to come back. I wonder if that was the right play right there from GuMi. That seemed very risky to me, and I don't think that really is gonna help him out too much. The problem is those Ravagers, right? I would love to see those coming in from the back, but anyways, he could just group up those Ravagers he attacked with the reinforcements right now. GuMiho realizes that though, and he's thinking about coming back home. Keep in mind, those Zerglings are fully upgraded right now, and they're phenomenally powerful. Maybe it's a couple of Hellbats still here in the mix, but the Zerglings will be able to bite through that quite quickly too. Is he gonna commit? I mean, that is a pretty feisty Zerg army here. He is gonna indeed commit. Siege tanks here get surrounded right away. Thor still having a grand old time. Good splits right there against the corrosive biles. Reinforcing units coming in from the right side right now as well. Siege tanks on siege, but they're still packing a punch. One Thor is gonna get killed on the way out, but that's exactly what it is. A couple of Hellbats coming in from the surround as well. My god, the drive-by right there of the Hellbats into Hellions. Or Hellions into Hellbats. Anyways, that was a pretty cool little move. GuMi right now scrambling to get more units across the map. The Zerg's economy, though, in absolute shatters. Look at that. 30 or 3,000 mineral. Massive advantage right there from GuMiho. I did not quite realize how much value he actually got out of that attack there. I guess that his opponent's mining was very much so focused on those bases in the bottom left-hand corner. Nice pickup micro right here as well on that one medevac, trying to keep a lot of those units alive. Baiting that Zerg army into... Oh, there you go. Nice juggling. Baiting it into the siege tanks. You, of course, can't pick up siege tanks anymore, but... Okay, eventually... I think GuMiho is winning this game. Sick game. Wow, what a game, actually. Like, this started off with a horrible early game for GuMi, but slowly, methodically, over the course of 20+ minutes, he managed to get back into it. Next up, we find ourselves on Royal Blood. GuMiho mixing it up. He's already made more barracks at the 1 minute mark than he did in the previous game in total. Ragnarok was scouting in that direction, however, he does not see that these barracks are coming up. Luckily, however, here for Rag, he did go for a spawning pool first. So this is a pool first into a hatchery. If he saw this, this would be massive actually, but sadly for him, he turned around with that a little bit too soon, and instead he's now checking out this location of the map instead, so, How many links does he make? How many links does he make blindly? Is it only 2? I think it's only gonna be 2. Ooh, this could be a very quick 2-0 right here for GuMi, who's going for some hyper-aggression right now. He does have a decent number of workers, GuMiho that is, and he is gonna get mules mining here as well, but as long as he can snipe this natural expansion, life is gonna be pretty good. At this point though, the Overlord, okay, it is going to be sent on over towards that high ground, and now he knows what he's playing against. Because of that quick spawning pool, he can go straight into the Roach Warren too. I would love to see a bunker here. I don't think that's a bad idea. Yep, there we go. Okay, bunker does come up. Zerglings are going to run across the map, but that wall off here on the high ground has already been completed. Queen is out. Yeah, the spawning pool first is still nice though. There's a spine crawler coming up. Second gas has been acquired too, so Ragnarok is going to try and go... for a couple of Ravagers here. Okay, Queen actually gets surrounded. Not something we see all the time. Just trying to gun down whatever he can. That bunker is going to finish. Roaches are coming out. Spinecrawler is going to get on over to the low ground too. No. The unbuildable plates need to be left alone here. That's for sure. Okay, sadly right here for GuMi, that Spinecrawler does start rooting. But then again, he might just be able to gun that down before it finishes, and that's exactly the case. Spinecrawler, though, does buy a lot of time. Yes, sure. It's the SCVs that finished the job. Yeah, they did buy a lot of time for those roaches to come out, and Ragnarok is just gonna counterattack instead. Okay, yeah, he's hunting down those Marines that are coming out of all of this right now. Zerglings in the meantime, by the way, dealing some damage. Bunker forced to come up as well. Can he get the natural? That's the main question. If GuMiho can get the natural, I think this is fine for him. Roaches are coming back, however. It's going to be very close. It is going to be very close. I think he does target fire. I don't know, man. He wants to get it, and I think he will get it. Hit it! Hit it! Oh my god, what? No, he missed the target. Are you kidding me? Hold up, I gotta go back. I gotta go back. So those Marines... Yeah, they were not firing right there at the hatchery for just a moment. It would have been very close. Maybe it would have survived with just a couple HP remaining. Now suddenly, though, this gets very awkward. There are still 2 Marines. I would love to see those go around and maybe try to finish the job that the rest of those units started. Either way, though, GuMiho knows that he might very well need those units at home because, well, there's a there's a Roach army now marching across. Roaches, when they get morphed into Ravagers, spawn again with full hit points, which is massive, and obviously right now, GuMiho is not going to be able to produce any reinforcements. Command Center does start up on the low ground. Are you kidding me, GuMi? Is that really where we want to put that? Okay, well, it takes about 7 biles here to get rid of that bunker. With repairs, obviously, and with missed biles, it's still going to be quite nice. He wants to set up a surround as soon as those roaches overcommit. So that's the plan. Okay, he is going to be able to get that bunker here eventually. Marines right now coming in from the side. Problem is, though, that expansion for Zerg is still up. If he would have gotten that base, this game would be entirely different. I mean, this is not a particularly great trade right now for Ragnarok. I don't think I like that push from him all too much, but the fact that he has this mining over here right now is amazing for him. So if you look right here, yeah, so this income advantage would have been flipped upside down if it wasn't for the fact that he had this, yeah, this natural stay alive. So 30 hit points in total. As long as it's above 0, I guess everything is A-okay. That also meant, obviously, that those Marines could have been gunning at the roaches for significantly longer. But yeah, making that commitment is difficult. But half committing in StarCraft 2. Barely ever. Honestly, that's life lessons in general. Half committing to anything barely ever works. So he wanted to go for the hatchery, and then he went for the roaches, and then he hit a couple of the Zerglings, and then we went for the hatchery again. Not ideal. Those Marines, by the way, gunning at things that are like the size of a house. These guys, man, they don't mess around. The Ravagers are huge. If a Marine in a suit is like 2 meters tall, I don't even want to think about how big the Ravager is. It's a tall boy, for sure. No. Anyhow, so this is where we are at. Ragnarok. It's gonna be able to start spreading that creep. A medevac drop is, of course, something that can always be scary, but I don't think we're going to be getting those out. Well, we're going to get them out eventually, but it's not going to be all too soon. This hatchery is going to slowly regenerate health. It's going to take a while, but it's already at 94. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe a couple of queens saving up some energy to go for transfusions, but Ragnarok has decided no. Health is a resource. As long as it's above 1, everything is A-okay. I don't care. Third hatch at this point is done as well. Banshees can obviously also be scary. We know that that is not going to be happening here, and I believe it's going to be medevacs instead, but yeah. It's easy to be caught up as well, though, in trying to kill that base. I've seen a lot of games where you get a base close to being killed, and then, you know, you basically commit the remainder of the game trying to kill that base that you damaged in the early match. And yeah, maybe not ideal. Anyways, Ravager still being annoying. Now there's a siege tank out, however. That's going to be pretty sweet. He does have a lot of lings available. Zerglings are actually, well, going to be able to just run straight through this. For some reason, those supply depots were not lifted. There is a siege tank over here, but it's not going to be able to, well, it's going to be in range for just a moment longer. Ravagers are incredibly low in health. Good micro right there by GuMi in the end, though. Keeping a lot of those units alive. Same can be said for Ragnarok. He didn't have the high ground vision here to get rid of that siege tank there, right? If he would have had that, I think this fight would have looked a little bit differently, because then follow-up biles would definitely have gone on this siege tank. Anyhow, at this point, this game is tricky, though, for Terran. Like, what exactly do you do? Income-wise, yeah, you've been behind for a long while. This is not quite the same as the previous game, where Zerg is stuck on a low tech. The difference here is that, well, yeah, Zerg is stuck on a low tech, but so is Terran. So he's got Stimpec here, sure, but he doesn't have any upgrades. I mean, no NG Bay upgrades or anything like that. He's gonna be able to get combat shields, sure, but we don't have any longevity in this Terran army. Zerg is, however, slowly teching up. He's getting Roach speed. I think he's going to be getting Baneling speed as well. And Baneling speed may very well be the nail in the coffin here. Although GuMiho, if he has any say in the matter, he's going to try and go and deal some damage, okay? A lot of siege... Ooh, okay. A lot of queens here. Ready to gun down those medevacs with the siege tank in it. That'll be painful. 1-1 does start up here for Rag. If these upgrades finish up and Terran still hasn't started up their NG base, he is gonna be at a dominating advantage. I mean, he already is, right? This is a 2cc opener right now for Terran, which is not something we see because it's bad. It can be decent, I suppose, because he does have a lot of units, but no. Ragnarok just has to defend this, and as long as he defends this, he's gonna be A-okay. Roaches and Ravagers are very good when it comes to defending. Queens in the front as well, with a lot of energy. Siege tanks, though, okay. Getting some work done. A couple of corrosive balls are going to get rid of one of those. Good transfusions right over there as well. And, well, with the Marines bleeding out slowly. 12 more roaches are coming up, too. He decides to counterattack, get one more siege tank down. Slowly but surely, Ragnarok dismantles GuMi. And that brings us to Ancient Cistern. By the way, the map Royal Blood, the win-loss ratio there so far for Terrans in tournaments is about 43%. Only, again, a sample size of 14 games, but 6 of those were won by Terran and 8 of those were won by Zerg. Ancient Cistern, only 6 games of Zerg versus Terran have been played on this map so far. So again, that's just in tournaments, right? It's not for like literally... Whoa, actually, look at that. SCV coming across already. Anyways, this map apparently has a 67% win rate for Terran. I mean, 66.7. Rounded. Anyhow, once again, GuMi. Sure, let's do it again, dude. Rag, are you gonna go for a pool first? Nope. It is gonna be a hatchery first this time. So he did go pool first 2 times in a row. There's no way GuMiho is gonna proxy... No, wrong. He's gonna do it again, Rag. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Maybe the Liquipedia page is not entirely updated yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually the case. Because I feel like there have been more than 6 Zerg versus Terrans that have been played on this map. Maybe I'm mistaken though. So in total it says 35 games on this map so far. Perfectly balanced in the mirror matchups though. Anyways, Overlords. Yeah, did scout it just now. So Ragnarok knows what he's going up against. He decides to send a couple of the boys. 4 drones have been tasked with a list of units to kill, and, well, the list starts with an S and then ends with C and V. They're trying their best. They would like to also kill Marines, of course, if they can. This is just annoying, right? So he loses one of the drones, one of the Marines, one of the SCVs, maybe another one of the SCVs. Okay, and lost... okay, he does get them home. He does get them home. In the end, though, this slows down everything, right? So, Spinecrawler, okay, that is kind of late. I don't even know if that's the ideal position here. I wonder if that is the safe spot. Either way, though, Zerglings are being produced right now, and at least he doesn't have to deal with a bunker already. GuMiho does, however, find a little spot right there where the creep hasn't expanded yet. More drones are forced to pull away from their mineral lines as well to try and shut all of this down. But Ragnarok spotting as early is massive, right? So he gets that SCV here in the end. If he kills that last SCV as well, that's the bunker rush dealt with, because there's no more workers to finish up that structure. If the Spinecrawler finishes, life is going to be excellent right here for Ragnarok. Queen right now comes out. Time to send in the Zerglings, I believe. No no inject right here with the Queen, by the way. Yeah, no, he should definitely try and keep energy here to transfuse that Spinecrawler. He doesn't need additional larvae. The 2 hatcheries that he's got are going to be plenty. Link speed at this point, about, I would say, 40% of the way done. Zerg does scout here on the other side of the map, but there's a whole lot of nothing. If he's thinking about going for a CC on the low ground, he is also making the assumption, GuMiho that is, that there is not going to be link speed on the back of this. And that is a dangerous assumption to make. There's the transfusion, keeping that Spinecrawler nice and healthy. Yeah, CC starts up. If it's just going to be non-stop Zergling production at this point, Ragnarok is certainly going to be able to kill that command center. I mean, he should be able to kill the Marines, counterattack, and then get there before that CC finishes up. If, of course, it finishes, though, he can lift it off, and at that point, it's going to be a massive commitment from the Zerg. Spinecrawler is going to get sacrificed, but he knows that he just needs to bide his time for a little bit longer. Okay, metabolic boost is done. Zerglings suddenly get their wings. They can't fly, but they're certainly much faster. And that is going to be the wraparound right there on all of those Marines. They're going to get killed easy peasy. GuMiho knows it. That CC is dead, and he decides to tap out. Next up, we find ourselves on Babylon. I fast-forwarded through the first couple minutes of this game, because nothing interesting happened. No proxy barracks, no early game spawning pools, just, yeah, a normal build right here. Instead, I decided to Google the win-loss ratio on Babylon so far for this particular matchup in tournaments, and it turns out Terran has about 78% win rate. Again, with a small sample size, but 78% win rate on Babylon LE in the Terran versus Zerg matchup so far. That is quite amazing. It's interesting though. Like if you only look at like the StarCraft forums, you only look on the StarCraft 2 subreddit, if you only look at the gut response from a lot of players, at least I've seen a lot of Terran players complain. Okay, I've seen a lot of people complain and call that this is an amazing map pool for Zerg right now, which it may very well end up being, don't get me wrong, but I feel like a lot of people are not really looking at the statistics. Now again, the stats, small sample sizes, so maybe they're not entirely realistic, but at least so far, it doesn't really seem to be that bad for Terran at all. Overall, this, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people also hear other people say, yeah, this map pool is bad for Terran, and then, you know, they're like, I guess it is! That explains my losses! That way I don't have to take responsibility for my actions. That's flawless. That's perfect. I'm gonna also just regurgitate what that guy said. This map pool is bad for Terran. I agree. I feel like a lot of that is oftentimes happening in StarCraft 2. I mean, obviously, it's a video game, right? Where you're trying to win. And because of that, things get pretty emotional pretty fast. But you can't really argue with statistics as easily. But so far, I feel like, yeah, it's really not that bad. Then again, I'm a Zerg player though, right? I'm a Zerg player, so maybe my arguments are invalid. I've actually not... By the way, we've got like a Hellbat... I'm assuming it's going to be a Hellbat push. We need an armory. Are we not going to go for an armory? We're going to go just concussive shells? Hello, where's the armory? Are we not going to go armory with this? That really does surprise me. Oh, there we go. Okay. Seems a little late. Anyhow, what I was going to say is that I haven't been playing as much ladder over the last half year or so, and I feel like it's actually made me a less biased commentator. I mean, I've always tried to be impartial, right? I've always tried to be an unbiased caster, but when you play the game a lot, you also seem to... You also look at the game primarily from one angle, right? So playing less, I feel like it's made me a better commentator, which sounds weird. I know that sounds weird. Anyways... Armory is not done yet, so these Hellions cannot morph into Hellbats yet. He does, however, have concussive shells, and that means that these Queens are gonna have to run for their lives. Normally, this is where you morph the Hellions into Hellbats, but yeah, not yet, apparently. He's gonna be sending them in, though, very, very shortly. Roaches are coming up, 14 of them as well, absolutely massive. Armory being late, though, also absolutely massive. I mean, now we can morph them. Ugh, that was so late. Okay, yeah, roaches are gonna just clean this up, no? I mean, 3 marauders are good, but not against, well, soon to be like 19 roaches. Oh, that spore crawler, man. You saw Ragnarok already selecting it as well. He was ready to target fire down that medevac. Okay, a couple of units will be left behind, but immediately this is gonna trigger a full-on migration towards the other side of the map. It is the Zerg mating season. At this time of the year, they like to march to where they were born on the Babylon. And, well, at least they're going to be met with a Banshee here, so that's something. The Banshee has nice little teeth right there at the front of the ship. So, you know, just to look extra scary for those Zerg units. Then again, I've got a feeling... I don't know. I don't think these roaches can look up. I'm pretty sure roaches just have peripheral vision in, like, I don't know, maybe a 90-degree angle on both sides of their... Actually, no, their eyes are in front. I guess that makes sense. They are predators after all. Anyways, I wouldn't be surprised if they can only look at the ground. Because evolutionary speaking, it doesn't matter, man. They are in such big numbers, it doesn't matter. They can just, yeah, put their energy on their survivability instead. These Banshees are gonna have to put in some work. GuMi has not really had the most successful early game here. I mean, sure, he did a bunch of damage. He killed a couple queens, right? It's not terrible. I think in a straight-up game, I favor Ragnarok, and that's probably why I'm, yeah, not too keen on this position here for GuMi. Ragnarok, of course, not really a player we talk about all too much, but he really is fantastic. The one problem with GuMiho playing Bio, and he is actually getting a good amount of work done right now. Okay. The one problem with GuMiho playing Bio that I've seen many times in the past is that his APM is sometimes just not quite efficient or sufficient. It's slower compared to all of the other top tier Terrans. by like a very significant margin. I mean, he'll be capable of hitting like 300 actions per minute, which is fair. But you'll have guys like Maru and Bjorn and Clem that are going upwards of 5, sometimes even 600 actions per minute on average, which is very, very, like, it's hundreds of APM difference. So, I don't know. I mean, I've seen GuMiho pull off some crazy moves with Terran Bio too, but I've got a feeling that Ragnarok overall probably outpaces him. Anyways, second factory coming up. Roach Speed is going to finish up here momentarily, as Zerg once again is playing that Roach Ravager army. Now 10 Mutas, though, with the Spire finishing up, are going to be flying across the map as well very soon. And that is going to be able to put on quite a bit of pressure. And that map control is going to go in favor of Ragnarok, who, when those Mutas are flying across, can do whatever he likes. Option A, keep making army units, try and win the game. Option B, make drones. Both options are excellent, especially with 1-1 just about to finish up. The Mutas are going to save together here for a moment. Yeah, so you can fly them all across. If GuMiho attacks right now, I don't think that's the right move.
Your forces are under attack.
Really, Rack? Really, Ragnarok? You play with the Diva announcer?
Your base is under attack.
Oh my god.
Stay cool.
Stay cool! Your base is under attack! Okay, anyways. We do have a Zerg army ready to collapse on top of this right now. Ooh, okay. Those biles are huge, by the way. Muta's not really helping out too much, but they're picking off the reinforcements. I actually thought this fight was going to go way better for Ragnarok than it has. In the end, he is going to be able to get out of here. And he does clean up that attack. How many SCVs can he kill in the meantime? That's the main question here. So far, nothing all too surprising. Nothing all too amazing. Okay, loses a Muta here as well. Okay, I think he's actually fine. GuMiho, that is. Yeah, I think he's alright. The Star Wars guy's going crazy again. Love to see it. Look, there they are as well. Zerglings, Roaches, Ravagers, raining biles from the skies. Careful! That's what I mean. This is why we need some more actions per minute. It is what it is. Okay, Siege Tank still... Medevac goes down. Siege Tank still putting in a lot of pressure. I saw someone... Last time I casted a game of GuMiho and I brought up his APM, I saw someone in the comment section getting upset at the fact that I said that 250 APM or so was slow. I want to address it, but let's look at this fight first. Because the Roaches and Ravagers are trying to get some work done over here. They're trying to just obtain the victory and, well, with that, allow Ragnarok to win this weekly cup. He's bleeding out a lot of Terran units here, but Ragnarok is still sending a ton of units across the map too. His economy is still looking sweet, right? 72 workers here compared to only 52. And even though these traits are not resource efficient, as long as he keeps trading, he should be okay in the end. Okay, 18 SCVs have gone down. The Mutas just trying to pick off whatever they can. Thor drop over here, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, so someone got upset at me for saying that GuMiho plays slow compared to the other pro gamers. And I thought it was kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, it's literally just a statistic. Like, you can get upset at statistics, but usually not smart, man. Just not the way to do it. It's like having a professional, I don't know, a professional runner who runs like a 12-minute mile. It just, yeah, you know, it would be pointed out, no? Even if he wins tournaments. Even if somehow he's very, very good at running extremely long distances, it's just a little surprising as well. Anyway, Roach is here, getting pushed back. Yeah, these Thors are putting in a lot of work. 4 and 7 kills. Don't, yeah, lose them, please. Nice micro right there by the Terran player. Trying to keep as many of those units alive. Roaches and Ravagers are bleeding out. Muta's still being annoying, and they're actually going to be able to kill a command center. That's massive. If only a couple of Stimp Marines would have flown underneath those, right? Or run underneath those Mutas. That would have helped out, but, yeah, APM, Okay, no, I'll shut up about it. I wouldn't mind it if GuMiho one day decided, I am a mech specialist. I'm gonna mech things happen. That's what I'm gonna be doing. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I know that Bio is the current preferred playstyle at the pro level, but... well, GuMi already showed us earlier that it's definitely viable to play mech, right? And being capable of doing multiple styles is, of course, the real deal, right? That's really what you want to be aiming for. Anyhow, Ragnarok forced to take this game down another path. He wanted to win with Roaches, Ravagers, and a couple of Mutas, maybe some Zerglings in the mix too, but now he's going into a Hive. Infestation Pit here is done. Maybe he's gonna just add on a couple of Vipers and rinse and repeat. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing some additional Evo Chamber upgrades either, because he can definitely still get a couple more. Mutas are getting some work done though, and they're quite frustrating here. This is now forcing GuMiho into a 3cc build, because, well, that 4th Command Center got picked off, so he's gonna be flying the old main base all the way on over towards, well, the 9 o'clock-ish position. 8:30. I feel like 9 o'clock is over here. Anyways, we're nearly there. One thing, though, that I do like here for GuMi is the fact that he's got nice upgrades. So, yeah, getting the +3 finished here eventually is going to be very, very sweet. Zerglings, though, going immediately in for the counterattack, and that is absolutely massive. This is, okay, gonna force GuMiho to once again put all of his eggs in one basket. The high-value supply depots there are getting killed as well. Does he have Banelings? He does have Banelings coming up right now. He does also have Centrifugal Hooks finished. That's gonna make these fights significantly easier. A couple of Biles here. Okay, beautiful. Stacked up Liberators. That's what you're looking for here as a Zerg player. Drop into the main base, however. That is gonna leave all of these, well, siege tanks exposed. Sadly, right here for Ragnarok, he doesn't have a lot of Lings anymore available to surround that, but he does get the command center on the other side of the map. Again, APM issue right there. If he had more APM, that command center could have lifted. There's no reason why an orbital command at this point in the game should die against a bunch of Zerglings. Corrosive Biles, okay, connecting with a few of the tanks. A new expansion was already made all the way up north. Ragnarok doesn't have mining going on there just yet, but he does have a lot of Zerglings that are now going in for the counterattack as well. They're going to pick up the units on the ramp. Is there enough for the Zerg to break through all of this? He's got more Lings coming. He's got more Roaches and Ravagers. I mean, that army coming from the main base looking absolutely menacing. Ragnarok just needs to clean up these units, and I think that's exactly what he's done right now. GG is cold. And with that, it's Ragnarok who wins the ESL Open Cup.